Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Anton, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. Today, what are we going to be doing today? Well, recently we have had a balance patch, patch 4.1.0, I believe. Lots of changes in this balance patch, lots of buffs, lots of nerfs, and a couple new cards. I believe these new cards are a Shurima card, Castigate, and a Shadow Isles card in the form of Soul Cleave. So what is this video going to be? Well, I'm gonna be showing you 5 decks that are using some of these changed cards. This video is meant for those people who are just a little overwhelmed from all these changes, don't really know what to start with. Those people who just don't want a deck build at all, and they just want to grab a deck and start playing on the ladder. I will say this: I think every single deck I'm going to be showing off today has potential to bring you all the way up to Masters and do well. But I will not. I will say this: they are not refined because we kind of need time for a meta to settle, so we know what kind of tech cards to put in our decks, what cards to take out of our decks. But I think these are all decks that can bring you to Masters, and you can even fine tune them to your personal playstyle if you want. So, what is our first deck? Well, our first deck actually is a deck that doesn't have any of the changed cards in it at all. Well, okay, technically we have Hate Spike, so we have one changed card in here, but we also have, the big thing here is the new card. One of the new cards, Castigate. 7 mana, slow speed spell, kill all followers. I don't think this card is good. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Castigate is a great card, but in the right decks, I can see it being a 1 of or a 2 of something like Sundisk, or as seen here, a Nasus deck. I'm not sure which Nasus pile I like more. Personally, I think I like Kindred Nasus more, but Thresh Nasus might be a little bit better. Thresh does kind of have some synergy with Castigate, but so does Kindred, really. But yeah, Castigate clears up all their followers, activates the Slay synergy for your champions, and you go from there. Not much to talk about with this deck, though. Pretty much just a standard Nasus pile. We got just units here that have either good Slay fodder, things that just want to die, like Undying, Curse Keeper, things that benefit from things that die, like the Kai Reaper, things that enable your things to die, like Caretakers, Spirit Leech. One of Dark and Halberd, just a cheap way as well to activate your Slay synergies. Anyway, speaking about like things though, in terms of fine-tuning the deck, good example, no Rite of Negation in the deck. Rite of Negation is a card that I feel like is really dependent on the meta. If you want to add 1 Rite of Negation in this deck, you can consider taking out the second Atrocity, maybe a Hate Spike, maybe the Tellstones, I guess. But at the moment now, with the popularity of Ornn, and I'm not a big fan of Rite of Negation. If like spell spammy stuff or just big spell stuff becomes more and more popular, things like Field of Rush or Vengeance decks, sure, go for it. Add in some Rite of Negations, but for now, I'd rather just play card draw, Slay synergy cards, and make our Nasus really, really big. Next up, what do we have up next? We got an Illaoi deck. Now, I honestly think Illaoi is a little overrated now. I think a lot of people are overrating Illaoi and just how good Illaoi is. I'm not saying I think Illaoi decks are bad. I just think most Illaoi decks are not that great. But I do think Illaoi Ionia is the way to go. A lot of people I've noticed are trying to build Illaoi Demacia, remembering the old Illaoi deck like Illaoi J4, Illaoi Lux, which it seems to be doing okay, but Golden Aegis being 5 mana is kind of hurting it. Now, Illaoi Ionia did exist back when Illaoi was seeing a lot of play. This is basically Illaoi Ionia, but with some of the new cards / updated cards. First off, the Illaoi equipment, the Swan equipment, Eye of God. I've been bouncing between 1 and 2 of these cards. Naga Kuboros is just solid now. But what we try to do with... Now, you might say, like, why do we play Ionia over Demacia? What are we getting with Ionia? you're getting some great kill potential. Between Ghost, Syncopation, being able to just make your tentacle hit your opponent, and good protection in the form of Twin Disciplines, counter magic in the form of Deny, Noblify if you want to add Noblify. You can get a lot of life too, because Spirit's Refuge on your tentacle usually will gain you, like, I'd say on average maybe 8 life with a dedicated tentacle deck like this. And of course we have bounces, like you can play Will of Ionia, Homecoming, stuns like Concussive Palm. Just a very fun deck to play. Some decks will play, some lists play only Alawi, mono Alawi. I like TF in the list. TF just has really good versatility. Red card, blue card. Blue card's always solid. Red card's great against more aggressive decks. I've tried both the mono Alawi list and the TF list. I like the TF list better purely because of the access to red card. I have had problems where my opponent just goes really, really wide and I only really have a unit and a tentacle, and TF with his red card really helps you against those matchups. So yeah, definitely a great deck out here. Definitely go try it out. Definitely could get you to Masters. Very good pile. Next up though, what have we got next? We got the deck that a lot of people are talking about. I've even seen people saying it needs to be nerfed. I find it really annoying. I'm not saying it needs to be nerfed, but it is annoying, and if you like being annoying, here's the deck for you. Jax Ornn. I've seen some people say this deck's overrated. I've seen some people say this deck's OP. I don't think it's OP or overrated. I think it is going to solidly be a low tier 1, high tier 2 deck. The biggest issue I have with this deck is it is a little linear. Linear decks are not bad if they're just powerful enough. Is this deck powerful enough? That's my issue. I don't know. Does going wide harm this deck? It's hard to go over it because their units just get so big, and Ornn's usually leveling on 7. Because Bone Club, this is the reason I'm showing off this version. There's a version that doesn't play Bone Club. I think if you want to play Jax Ornn, you should play Bone Club because it lets you level up your Ornn. You play Bone Club on something like a Weaponsmith Apprentice, and then forge it, and then you have a big unit to hit and level up your Ornn. Very strong early game. Ornn, one of Ornn's weaknesses before the balance patch was he had terrible early game. His units, his early units, his followers sucked. Weaponsmith Apprentice, terrible. Favorite Artisan, terrible. They've all been buffed. Weaponsmith Apprentice is a 7/8 basically. Turn 1 or turn 2, Weaponsmith Apprentice, have 2 spell mana banked on turn 3, and then use that 5 mana you have to play Bone Club on Weaponsmith Apprentice, and you've got a 7/8. That's nuts. I'm just saying right now, chat, that's insanely good. Yes, it can be chumped and everything, and yes, it's bad if your opponent's going wide because you only have 1 unit by turn 3, but that's pretty good. That's still like a lot of stats, and you might say like, okay, well, what if I just kill the apprentice? Sure, you're wasting premium removal though on what's basically a 1/2, and your opponent doesn't have to go turn 1 apprentice, turn 2 bank mana, turn 3 Bone Club. They can literally just go turn 1 apprentice, turn 2 Jax, and they have a 4/3 Jax on turn 2, which is really strong. And that's not to mention how we have other strong openers here. Favorite Artisan to get time and dedication to start buffing up and forging equipment. Raider just has Overwhelm, so it holds equipment well. And our spell suite is pretty nice now too. One of Freljord's weaknesses was it doesn't have great removal. Spot removal, if that makes sense. It has okay AoE in the form of Avalanche, Blighted Ravine, and even Buried in Ice, but its spot removal, kind of lackluster. And that was one of the reasons why the few Jax decks we saw were never Jax Ornn, and they were always Jax Vayne, because they wanted access to Fish Fight. Now that Riot made Fish Fight a Weapon Master card, so you can play Fish Fight in Jax Ornn, it's really, really scary. And it's really, really good. Also, Entrancing Lure is just a solid card too. And Sharesies lets you do some combat tricks. So overall, Really annoying deck to play against because you got your typical Freljord annoying stuff like Troll Chants and Freezes. We have Weapon Master stuff now, which gives us good removal. The units are beefy. Bone Club and equipment in general pretty much means any unit can turn into a win con and get a lot of stats. And the top end of Ornn is pretty solid, and we even have Rot Colossus as extra top end. Been bouncing between 1 and 2 of this. Right now I'm at 1 because usually Ornn himself is enough, but the Rot Colossus is basically the 4th Ornn. You can go up to 5 if you want, but I like it as a 1 of. And a 1 of Babbling Bjerg to try and draw Ornn since he's been buffed to 5 power now. Also, it's pretty nice because Ornn is pretty much the only hit here in the deck for Bjerg besides Rot Colossus, since they buffed Hearthblood member but removed one of his stat points and made him a 4/5. Really strong deck here. Out of all 5 decks here, I would say this is probably the strongest deck I'm showing off. Is it the strongest deck in the meta now? Not sure if I would say yes, but out of all the buff cards and buff decks, it probably is the strongest deck. Now, next up, what do we have, though? We got a deck that a lot of people are talking about, at least on Reddit and in certain communities. Viego Soulcleave. Now, there's a lot of discussion going on over what's the best Viego Soulcleave deck. There are 2 lists I like. The first list is this one with Nora. The second list I like is an Ionia version, just because I get to play Deny. However, Ionia, we don't need it anymore. We don't need Ionia for just wanting Ionia for Deny, because Bandle City has Puzzling Signpost. Also, Puzzling Signpost can get rid of those bone clubs from Ornn. So the idea with the deck, if you don't know what a Viego Soulcleave is trying to do, we want to have a Cam of Ornn soldier on the field, a Viego on the field, and Soulcleave the Cam of Ornn to activate Viego to give us an Encroaching Mist from Viego, summoning 2 more Cam of Ornns, which gives us 2 more Encroaching Mists, and theoretically that will level up our Viego, hopefully. Yes, I'm very critical of this combo. I don't think this is a good combo if we're trying to go only for that combo. This deck is not going only for that. We have alternate Soulcleave targets. Aloof Traveler for 1. But that's pretty much it. Junk Construct kinda, but it's mostly just here for Cam of Ornn soldier. You could also, in theory, use it on Nora, but in all honesty, it's not that great on Nora. Same with Viego. But yeah, you guys know your Viego decks now. Not much to talk about with this. We also have Hate Spike in here that was buffed. And thanks to things like Hapless Aristocrat, Junk Construct, Encroaching Mist from the soldiers and Viegos, and Nora's portal units, we usually have enough stuff for Hate Spike to sacrifice for the 3 damage. Very big fan of this deck. Love Viego. I don't think this is going to make Viego relevant again, but I would love to be proven wrong because I love Viego decks. And our last deck, a deck I've been working on, Master Yi Victor. I threw this together on my stream, and I've been working on it even more off stream. The idea with this deck is we're trying to be spell tempo-y. I created this deck when Master Yi actually first came out, and it was terrible. The reason was because Master Yi was pretty bad. But Master Yi's been buffed twice. The latest buff, which is his level up buff, and the first buff, which was the buff that made his cost reduction permanent. I was also playing things like Plaza Guardian and Assembly Bot in that deck as well, so you could consider playing those. But basically, we're just trying to get stuff on the field, get a little bit of chip damage, and then use the buff card Dragon Caller to start getting big chunks of damage off of our opponent's Nexus. And so we have to activate Flow a lot. So how are we doing that? Well, we've got Victor and his Hex Score upgrade for 1. I'm also trying out Disciple of Doran, because we do kind of have some expensive cards here. I have considered playing Ballistic Bot, the 2-mana 0/3, who gives you the 1-mana ping. I'm not a great fan of that guy anymore. I just think that card is too slow nowadays, but I might consider playing Ballistic Bot. Again, this deck is a work in progress, but I think there is potential here. Vestayan Disciple, you know, Whoosh, Monkey Man, the 1-mana 1/1 elusive guy. I think he also has potential in this deck. I'm probably actually going to take out, like, I'm going to go down to 2 Acorns and put in 1 to 2 Vestayan Disciples later is what I'm considering. Eye of the Dragon, just a solid card here. Helps us just get some extra defense and even a little extra pressure. Since we're flowing pretty much all the time, it's just solid. Pharaoh's Financier gives us some extra late game. We do actually need to have other win cons besides Dragon Caller. Financier, Victor, and Yi are what we're trying to use for that extra bit of late game. I'm trying Witness here. Witness is a 4-mana 3/3. If you flow, she costs 2 less. When you play her, stun an enemy, basically Arachnoid Sentry. I'm trying her out in this deck over Concussive Palm because we are flowing a lot, so usually she's a 2-mana 3/3. I kind of like her. She might get cut from the deck though, but she is pretty fun and pretty sweet, but this is definitely something you could cut for other cards. And then our top end is Dragon Caller. Empyrean is the 6/5 elusive, just solid, and a couple of sign ends. Not sure on how many sign ends I want to play as well. As for the spell suite, pretty much a standard Ionia PNZ spell suite here. Good protection spells that help activate flow in the form of Wuju style. Some counter magic in the form of Denies and Notifies. Still working on how I want to set up my counter magics. Card draw in the form of Deep Meditations and Drum Solos. Not sure on the numbers with the card draw either. I might go down to 1 Deep Meditation and up to 2 Drum Solos. 2 Unworthy Souls. I think this is really, really good in the meta with how popular Ornn is. Still hesitant on the Tellstones. The Tellstones is kind of just filler here. I do like having access to Aftershock and even Progress Day, but I might just switch this in all honesty. But I also have used the Transform spell a couple of times already to transform a Disciple of Doran into an Empyrean. And then we got some spot removal here. I believe recently I've actually taken out the second high note and gone up to 3 Mystic Shots, and I'm on 3/1 split. There are other cards, though, I have considered adding to this deck as well and removing from this deck. For example, I'm considering at the moment Deathmark, the card that's basically remove Ephemeral from a unit and throw it onto a enemy unit. Other cards I'm considering in this deck as well are, well, if the meta gets a little too aggressive, I would consider Caustic Rift. I don't think Caustic Rift is needed right now, but I would consider it. But yeah, I like the deck. I really, really like this deck. It is a mid-range deck, very tempo-y, kind of mid-rangey deck. But this is the kind of mid-range I do like. So, you know, take it out, try it for yourself, take it out for a spin, have fun with it. Really fun deck. And I'd love to hear your opinion on all of these decks, really, and just what you guys think of them. Do you think, what do you think of the balance patch in general? Do you think the balance patch is a good balance patch? Do you think it's a bad balance patch? My personal opinion is it's just okay. Like, I don't hate it. I don't love it. Feels a little bit overly safe with some of the buffs and some of the nerfs. Some of the nerfs just feel meaningless, like the Katarina nerf, for example. The Katarina nerf basically feels like it doesn't really change much. And of course, I'm a control fanatic. I just love control, and I wish there were a few more control cards buffed, like Fangs, please. But I'd love to hear your opinion on the balance patch. And what have you guys yourself been playing with all the changed cards, or the new cards? I'm very curious to hear what you guys have been playing. And if you guys just enjoyed the video in general, I'd love if you could leave a like or a comment down below. Always helps me and always helps out the channel. And if you guys want to keep up with the Legends of Runeterra content, you can always go and subscribe to the channel as well. And if you want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can always go and check me out over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Zenetin, where I stream pretty much every single day. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all once more for watching this video. And until I see you guys in the next one, bye.